Bonjour, Santani, and welcome to another episode of the Godfather Minute.
Part 2 Minute.
Oh, you got me. Godfather Part 2 Minute. I'm Alex Robinson.
I'm Andy Robinson.
And we're going to talk about minute 66 of the Godfather Part 2.
What you got, Alex?
So,
hey, what's up, Dr. Summary?
Minuto.
Numero?
66.
Oh, close.
60.
It might be true if my father was still alive. 66. Say. 66.
66. All right.
Oh, yeah. Say, Santa. Say.
Minute 66 of The Godfather Part 2. Mike confirms that our friend in Miami is okay with Frank Pantangeli being exterminated. Later, Frankie Five arrives at his compound only to be told by his wife that Mike Corleone is in his study.
Oh. Wow.
Spoiler alert. I was... when I
You watched the whole Godfather 2?
Well, close. Well, basically, for every week we post on the social media, like we show a still of something from the minute, and just feeling like whatever I decided, I just said, I'm just going to start doing all the screen caps now, so I don't have to do it week to week. I'll just and basically I did like the next 25 episodes.
Whoa.
I did the screen grab for each episode.
Wow.
And it got me so excited because there's so much good stuff.
Yes.
We go right from Hyman Roth to Frank Pantangeli, and then we go back to Hyman Roth and me in Cuba, and so much great stuff coming through. So
I can't wait.
it's gonna be great.
I can wait.
You can?
Oh yeah,
You have to.
What did Willy Wonka say? The suspense is killing me.
Or,
didn't he say that?
It's something like the suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts. Yeah.
I want to point out for our listeners that are not in the room that you are wearing an original Frank Pantangeli Godfather Minute T-shirt.
Yeah, not one owned by him. It's not like a Frank Pantangeli original. But yes, it's one of the shirts that we sell over at the Alex Robinson Stuff store on Threadless, so you can check it out. Picture of Frankie with his beloved hose.
Hose.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It's not unlike Tatalia, who is with his favorite hose.
You mean Barzini?
No, it's Tatalia. It's Tatalia.
So we start off with the tail end of the Hyman Roth confrontation.
Hey, before we get into it, what screen grab did you use for this episode? Because I haven't seen it yet.
I think
show the Frankie. This minute is kind of split. It's got a little bit of Frankie, a little bit of Roth.
Well, the last 2 minutes were basically almost the same shot of Hyman Roth sitting in his chair. So rather than do another one of those, I had it be Frankie arriving at the snowy house in the scene.
Yeah.
So,
although interestingly, I think story-wise, the Hyman Roth portion of this minute is more significant.
It is, but I feel like it's like you just wanted to provide a little bit of visual. Yeah. So people are like, wait, is this the same episode as last time? It's the same picture 3 weeks in a row of Hyman Roth.
You could have differentiated by having a still shot of Hyman Roth stuffing the tuna fish sandwich in his mouth.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors that go into which things you pick for your things.
Hey, I'm not trying to micromanage. You deal with your family business the way that you want.
Do you think that's why? Do you think Fredo was mad that his brother was micromanaging Mike because his name is Michael Corleone?
That's his garbage pail kid for today.
There you go.
Micromanager. Or Micro Corleone.
That means like, how much is short, so maybe he should be Micro Corleone.
You're right. It should be Micromanager, but it's M-I-K.
Yeah. Well, hey, also, before we get into the minute, you and I have both been watching Paramount Plus's The Offer, which we will get to later in the episode, so stay tuned for that. Let's talk about Hyman Roth. He starts off the minute by talking about what a big historic thing this is. Never been done. Unprecedented.
Never been done.
So what is it exactly that he is so, like, happy? Like, what is it just that they have a friendly government? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
But is it like an unprecedented? Why is this so different? They clearly already have operations and stuff in Cuba, so why? Or do they not have operations in Cuba?
I don't know. That's a good question. I assume they were getting them going or had them going, but it was going to be official with this donation to the president.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
just
probably some internal next step, significant step,
like
in solidifying their role in Cuba's gaming operations.
Not that it really matters. I mean, it doesn't. Clearly, it's just some deal. It doesn't really matter what the specifics of it are. But
I mean, Hyman Roth says, even your father never dreamed.
Not even your
father ever dreamed this.
What do you think about that line?
I love it. Well, it gets back to what you and I have been talking about for the past several minutes. Is Roth... Does he really believe that? Is he just saying that to get Mikey to loosen up and be happy about the arrangement? So he's relaxed. I want him relaxed. Johnny, I want him. Take him a tour around town. I want him nice and relaxed before he gets to the house.
Take the scenic route down by the racetrack.
Show him the statue of that horse.
Well, that's I think it's interesting because I was aware of the contrast because he's like, even your father couldn't have dreamed about this.
Yeah.
Making it sound like his father had a head for big deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting contrast because in this movie, like when we're with Vito Corleone, it's very small scale. Like can't even be convinced into taking a rug. You know what I mean? Stealing a rug. Like it's not like this Vito Corleone had lofty goals, and so it's funny that he's saying.
But at this point in the movie, Vito Corleone has already lived his whole life and died. So Hyman Roth would have seen how big he became.
Right. No, I understand that. I understand at this point in the movie he is. That would be a shock. I was like, what? He's dead. No.
Oh, you think this Hyman Roth scene is still in the flashbacks? You think it's like 1918?
Well, it happened. We just saw him a couple of minutes ago. I mean, how could he?
That's Hyman Roth, the time-traveling Roth.
He has been dying from the same heart attack for 20 years. He looks exactly the same age as young Vito Corleone.
Yeah.
No, I just
mean
that...
the timing Roth, because you know what, he always never lies about his timing. He always takes timing and seriously, right? Timing Roth.
That's what I'm always punctual. That's why they call me Timing Roth, because I'm always here in time.
That's why he gets mad later when the suitcase doesn't arrive. He's like, I expected that suitcase to be here at 12:15 latest, considering what time the flight arrived.
Now I'm thinking of other garbage pail kid names for Hyman. Like if he worked on like You Can't Do That on Television, he'd be Slimin' Roth.
Slimin' Roth. What scene from The Godfather Part 2 would it show him on the card getting slimed?
Oh boy, that's a good question. What outfit is he? What is his? What is his ensemble?
I think he's on the couch, lying there with no shirt, like with the doctor. He's like can't even talk.
Yeah.
Remember later they go to visit him and he's getting slimed while he's about to die.
Or at the airport. That's how Rocco kills him by pouring a bucket of green slime on him.
Oh, they say,
you think they'll give you your absentee ballot? I don't know. All this stuff pours on.
That's great. Or what about when there's a pillow over his face? He's getting smothered and the green slime is over him. People think they meant to kill him with the pillow. It was the slime that was going to suffocate him.
Slime provided by your father. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, check out the show You Can't Do That on Television. It currently airing in 1987 on Nickelodeon. So
starring Moose, Kevin, and Alistair.
And Alanis Morissette.
And Lisa.
Lisa Ruddy. Anyway,
so
I just
back
think
to
it's
the
funny
history.
that he's talking about his father with such lofty goals. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, like we said, when we see him in the flashback, he's just like this schnook who's just starting out. So it's kind of a...
I still don't get it, because at this moment in time when Hyman Roth is saying not even your father would have dreamed of this, Hyman already would have seen Rita.
I know, but I'm just saying in terms of what the movie is presenting to us and like what they are choosing to show and so on. Like they're not even the Vito Corleone who we see in that flashback does not clearly have any lofty goals other than.
But I would assume that everyone seeing this has already seen Godfather 1. Right?
You know,
and they kind of know all the backstory.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. I was just...
You think it's sloppy storytelling?
No, not sloppy storytelling. I think it's a way of showing that Hyman Roth... To me, that seems like Hyman Roth is kind of like... basically buttering Michael up by saying all this because, you know...
Yeah.
So along similar lines, it got me wondering, like, did Vito Corleone have lofty goals? Like, would he have been like, Michael, we're going to have this deal in Cuba, it's going to be great? Or he always struck me as a more, like, local guy.
Well, I mean, maybe given what...
Like, he doesn't strike me as someone with huge, lofty goals the way Hyman Roth is saying. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at.
I guess he's not as ambitious.
Yeah.
But he's doing what he can to keep his family strong, but also get his family out. Like, he didn't want this from Michael. Although in the book, he did want it from Michael.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is at odds
and in the
with
deleted
movie.
Scenes also, he's a complex man.
And he doesn't, even though his consigliere in Godfather Part 1 says drugs is the future, he doesn't get into that. So maybe...
Right, that's what I meant.
So I think you're right.
My father's way of doing things is over. Like,
even he knows that.
Yeah, so...
I think Roth is just buttering him up.
Yeah.
Did you see how he lights up? It's like, not even your father would have dreamed of this.
Yeah.
He's beaming at that point. He's smiling.
Do you think like Vito Corleone ever went to Florida or Cuba?
Not Cuba.
Not Cuba.
I think that's a little far. He's an old mustache Pete. Right. I don't think you have any of those old mustache Petes going there, right?
I don't know. Doesn't
I don't think we ever see. Oh, we do see Barzini. Oh no, Barzini's no, he's dead.
Yeah,
they're all dead. All those guys.
Yeah.
No, I think you see the corporate heads, like the guy from United Fruit.
Yeah.
The guy from ITT.
No other crime lords are.
No,
I
think it's this is a. I mean, maybe that's what Hyman's referring to. That not even your father would have dreamed we would be collaborating with these CEOs and basically owning.
So
a
he's
country.
kind of putting down Michael Corleone's father. He's like, your father was too stupid to see the deals we're making.
Couldn't even dream of this, Michael. Could you? Are you sure you don't want to back out?
Was a simple man, a simple farmer with no brains in his head.
All he could think, the best idea he ever had was owning some trucks. And even those broke down all the time on the way back from Canada.
He was always offering me rugs. Rugs, carpets.
Rugs. That's all. He was a rug man. Nothing more. He was a small potatoes rug man.
Better than those rug joints they have in Vegas, that's for sure. When we were preparing for this minute, you alerted me. You texted me saying pay specific attention to Mikey's expression. You want to elaborate on that?
Did you watch it?
I did. Mm-hmm.
So Hyman Roth says,
"We're gonna make history.
What we will do together in the next few months will make history."
Mm-hmm.
And then he says history again. And right when he says history a second time, Mike's expression, it really caught me because Mike is stone cold and pretty much all Godfather too. He shows very little emotion.
Yeah.
Except when he's exploding.
Yeah. Hoo-haing.
What?
When he's hoo-haing all over the place.
Oh, hoo-haing here, hoo-haing there. This guy.
Hoo-ha lessons.
But right after Hyman says history the second time, Mike... I'm going to exaggerate it, and I'll say what it's because it's so subtle.
Yeah.
He's like, well, maybe not.
Do you think that's what Mikey is thinking?
That's the expression on his face, and it's so quick and nuanced. It's so fast.
Huh.
I watched the minute 3 times, and only on the 3rd time did I catch it. Did you see something? Did you see it? Huh?
Well, no. I was going to ask you. Do you think that? Because I was thinking more along the lines of like, well, you're going to be a history, old man. Like more like not maybe not more like he already knows that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That just like maybe, but not really. We'll see.
Right.
Kind of like a we'll see. Like a slight challenge to what Roth is saying.
Yeah.
Contradicting Roth for one reason or another.
You would think his impulse would be to nod along and to smile and do all that stuff, but. So it's again, we don't know who is playing what hand in this game.
Either way, it just seems that it was a bad move on Mikey's part.
You think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why would Mikey, what does he have to gain by contradicting Roth. He
Mikey's
wants Roth to think this is the whole
Roth
point.
Respect.
Whole point of him being there is to show Roth respect, get permission. We haven't even talked about this. Get permission from Roth to kill someone in his own family. Like, he's being completely deferential, and now Roth is saying we're going to make history, and Mikey's like, nah, probably not. Well, it doesn't add up, Alex.
But isn't that
it? Don't add up.
But he's trying to. If he's trying to assuage Roth's nerves and make him think that everything's going great, if he's too deferential, if he's like, "That's great, Mr. Roth, well, this is really gonna do it," then Roth might be like, he seems, you know what I mean? We don't know.
I get it. Yeah, it just doesn't align with everything else his whole vibe in the scene, his approach. It just seems really off. It caught me.
Well, maybe Mikey is trying to sell it as in, like, I'm really focused on this thing about killing Frank Fantangeli, so I can't even really. Yeah, it's great. We're gonna do this, but I got to take care of this. I don't know. Maybe he's going with that sort of an angle. He's like you said. He always plays it pretty stone faced, though.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just really not. He just really can't do any other. He just has to be like, his only thing is like, I'm either emotionless or I'm angry. Those are the two extremes.
Yeah, it was one of the most interesting kind of moments I've seen in Godfather 2 so far. It was so subtle, and I wonder if it was like a Pacino error.
I can't imagine.
It just seems so off. So I'm going to watch it again. And I encourage our listeners to watch it.
Yeah.
It's right the split second right after Roth says, history. The second time.
Yeah.
I want to point out something about the way Hyman Roth speaks, Alex.
What do you want to point out?
Do you know he's not one to use contractions very much? Do you know what a contraction is?
A contraction is where you take two different words and you mash them together and you remove some of the words to make it easier to say. So, like, instead of saying, I cannot do that, you'd say, I can't do that.
Well, you would cannot is one word. So that's
I can not do that. Or how about this? Yeah. I could not do that. Shortened to I couldn't do that.
Could not do what?
I couldn't come up with a good definition of a contraction.
Hey, and for the kids,
and I won't.
And for the kids out there who no longer have to study grammar, think of it as a grammatical mashup. Right?
You think there's anyone listening to this who doesn't understand the concept of what a contraction is?
This is for you, Alex. I don't care about them.
This is a 20-minute riff on you can't do that on television, but it's the contractions.
You cannot do that on television. All right. Anyway, Hyman Roth does not like to use contractions. I'm going to point the one out in this.
Are you saying he's a robot?
Hyman Roth says, quote, "What we will do together in the next few months will make history. What we will do."
So as opposed to what we'll do?
Yeah, it's unnatural sounding, but it sounds great from him because it's very deliberate. What we will do in the next few months will make history. History.
It makes sense to me because, being a kid of the streets, he probably is one of those people who wants to prove how far he's come, to speak very correctly and very clearly. Not like these marble mouths you have running around with guns. It's...
yeah, okay.
That's what I would guess. It's just him trying to be more formal than...
We still never figured out what level of education Hyman Roth got to, right?
Oh, probably
nothing,
like 5th grade or something.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he.
Well, then, Mr. Roth, I commend you on your use of articulate language.
Oh, yeah, he had acting lessons, dancing lessons, everything to make himself seem like a fancy guy.
Yeah.
Do you think Roth and Waltz know each other?
Oh.
Have they ever met? No, I don't know those guys.
I don't know. I mean, Waltz is not connected. The only time that we know of that he bumps up against the world of organized crime is with Johnny Fontaine. And he never gets that picture.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be a scenario in which they would...
Well, I mean, there must be a mob influence on, on other things. They can't be the only. We know the Molinari family operates out of California, so there must be other things going on.
Do you think Roth has West Coast connections?
I don't know. He does strike me more as a Cuba guy. More as a Florida Cuba guy.
Yeah,
Cuba guy.
Although it's interesting because he's in the Jewish mob, and you would think that in Hollywood there would be
say it.
What, connections to organized crime?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I assume so.
I mean, a lot. I mean, don't all lucrative businesses originally start like with all graft and payoffs and bribes?
Yeah, if they don't start off that way, then as soon as something starts making money, that's what attracts people who are like, oh, how can I exploit this for my own game? Yeah. My own. That's the real talent, is seeing what niches aren't currently being shaken down by the rackets.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's see. What else you got, Alex?
So this is the famous line. We've quoted it a million billion times on the show. When he says, so Frank Fantangeli is a dead man, and then
you don't object,
and then he says he's small potatoes. I was surprised that he says he's small potatoes, because we always just say small potatoes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were surprised he said he's small potatoes, because he should say he is small potatoes.
Yes, say there's your contraction for you.
He's small potatoes.
He is small potatoes.
OES, potatoes.
So, and then I love that he says he's small potatoes, and he immediately goes, shoves some food in his mouth. So great. It's a nice little bit of, I can't tell what he's eating. It goes by too fast.
Alex, frequently what comes with a tuna fish sandwich is potato chips. And what are potato chips made out of? Small potatoes.
Small potatoes, yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think is he referring to Frank Pentangeli when he says small potatoes, or is he just kind of talking about what he's eating?
You think he just identifies everything that before he puts it in his mouth?
Small potatoes. Tuna fish sandwich.
Arnold Palmer. Back to the small potatoes.
Baseball game.
This is clearly while he was having his mental issues that he experienced in Justice for All.
This is helping him fight off the dementia that's setting in.
He thinks he's a crime boss. It's crazy.
Small potatoes. Michael Corleone.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 angels.
I love that expression, small potatoes.
So I have a question for you. Here's a little bit of movie making trivia for you. Are you aware of how they film scenes where people eat in movies?
I think you might have shared this in GF1 maybe during one of the scenes where they're eating. Because I remember you said that they don't eat, or they eat, but they spit it out.
They chew, and then every actor has a bucket next to the table in which they spit out their food because they don't want to be eating like 17 takes worth of pasta over time.
Alex, I wouldn't call that bucket the best veal in the city. I wouldn't call...
Clean it up!
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine McCluskey's bucket?
I'd fest in the city.
I guess the best veal.
McCluskey's bucket. That's my new band. It's McCluskey's bucket.
And he kicks the bucket that same meal.
It's a Sicilian message.
Wow, so they just keep spitting out all that food.
That way they let the police department know that McCluskey died is by bringing his bucket and knocking it over at the police station. Oh, it's a Sicilian message. It means he kicked the bucket.
And Sicilian message. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means McCluskey kicked the bucket while eating the best veal in the city.
Clean it up, Phil.
Oh, but Captain, I'm already a 2-stripe sergeant. Damn it, Phil, I said clean it up.
All right, so clearly I already talked about that, so we can move on to the...
Alex.
Yes.
Did you notice Hyman Roth is promoting a brand of clothing in this scene?
He is. What do you mean?
Okay, when he leans over and says, not even your father would have dreamed of this deal. His vest, or like a little sweater, kind of opens up a little bit. Underneath, you see a world famous brand. What do you call it? Logo.
Huh. What is it?
It is the little alligator.
Oh, from the Izod shirts.
That's right.
From the Izod collection.
Yeah.
Oh.
The little alligator. I was really surprised to see it.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I wish I'd noticed that. I would have looked up the history of Izod in the Jewish or the Jewish mafia.
Yeah.
Hey, before we move on to Frankie Five Angels, I'm going to cover a We Asked, We Answered. Well, sort of. Well, we'll discuss it and then.
What was the question?
Question was, what do Jewish mobsters call their consiglieres?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. I don't know.
Unfortunately, I do not either. I looked up Jewish consiglieres, and there was no. It's tough to find any specific information, but I did find out some interesting trivia about Jewish organized crime.
Before we go there, we asked.
We didn't answer.
We did not answer.
So one thing I learned is that you, of course, know the term that they call one nickname for the Jewish mafia is the Jewish organized crime, I guess I should say, because mafia specifically is the kosher nostra. That was pretty funny. It's almost a Garbage Pail Kid there.
Yeah,
that one.
Kosher Nostra.
Author Rich Cohen has perhaps a very controversial opinion. He says if Jewish gangsters were still around, the Jewish community would be better off for it.
If they were still around.
Because he's saying now,
5 decades.
Jewish people have this perception of being they can't defend themselves and they're weak. But if there were Jewish gangsters, then that would let people know that, you
don't mess with them.
But other Jewish people have said, well, Jewish gangsters primarily victimize Jewish people. So it's not really that much of a good trade-off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. The Kosher Nostra. I
learned of the term, I know you are a big fan of this term, a Seamus.
A Seamus.
I'm a fellow Seamus.
A brother Seamus.
Brother Seamus. That's
a what?
Like a monk? The term Seamus comes from Yiddish. I thought it was I assumed it was an Irish word, like the name Seamus is. Yeah. But apparently it's a variation of the word that means the sexton of a synagogue is referred to as a Seamus. So
Seamus.
Almost like the...
like a Jewish shaman.
Not a shaman, almost more like a...
probably has the same roots, though. Because it's like the head of a religion, the representative of your connection to God.
No, I feel like it's more like the person who is in charge of running the synagogue, and so it's someone who would be like the authority at who's in charge of the manager of the synagogue.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So they're not the religious part of the operation; they're the business.
Yeah. So they would be. They're almost like so they would be the authorities who are in charge of running things and so on.
That makes sense.
I thought that was interesting. There was a famous Jewish organized crime organization called the Purple Gang outside of Detroit. As you can imagine, Detroit, Michigan, up there, very close to Canada. Get those trucks right across the border.
That's
who provided those trucks. The Purple Gang achieved a kind of immortality in the song Jailhouse Rock. Because at one point in the song, Elvis Presley says, the whole rhythm section was the Purple Gang, let's rock.
Oh, really?
So there you go. So the Purple Gang.
Whoa.
Now you know what they're referring to.
And that was a Jewish gang?
That was a Jewish organized crime thing. So.
I never knew he sang that.
Yeah, there you go. The Purple Gang. It's such a funny term, the Purple Gang.
Yeah. Names change.
Currently, what Jewish organized crime still is around comes mostly from Israel and Russia, not necessarily Jewish Americans, but imported from Russia and Israel. In fact, in 2013, there was a big organized crime bust with a Jewish organization who were their main thing was divorce coercion.
What?
So say, for instance, you had a couple and the family wanted the husband to divorce the wife in a religiously acceptable way.
Oh, okay.
They would go and apply pressure on the husband, listen, you better do what we say, and basically force the husband to get a divorce from the wife so that the wife could marry some other person. Okay. So anyway, who's a very
so the wife's family would go to the Jewish organization
and say
we don't like this schlump, this schmeckel, we want him out, we want our daughter to be able to get divorced, in an acceptable manner under the eyes of God.
That way she can get remarried to someone else.
But he doesn't want this divorce.
Yeah,
he wants to live off of us or for whatever reason. So then,
it's kind of like the Frank Sinatra, Tommy Dorsey thing. Like they go to his house and say either your brains or your signature is going to be on this divorce, decree or whatever.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So
they call that. I think they call that the divorced business. It's a forced divorce.
It sounds like a Star Wars.
Divorce.
Forced divorce. Divorce.
Wow, I didn't realize there was such
with you.
I didn't realize that was such big business.
Go figure.
I guess they'll find a niche.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? That's a niche business.
I guess
even the Bochicchios didn't see that niche.
I could see how it would be a natural evolution, though, because you basically would have a situation like Bonacera, where Bonacera's like, oh, my daughter's stuck in this marriage with this guy, and then eventually they'd be like, when they would resolve his problem, and then next time someone else had that problem, Bonacera would say, you know what, go to the Don. They have a whole divorce thing. They made my daughter.
I guess I don't understand divorce. Do you need permission from the other person? Does it have to mutually agree on it? Maybe in the world of religion,
it's very specifically. It's not in a legal way, but in the religious sense, it's like the difference between an annulment and a divorce. I think technically Catholics can't get divorced, but they get annulled, which
come on,
basically seems like a lot of the same result. But who am I to to pick such nits? So anyway, there you go.
Okay.
If you ever want someone to get divorced, you know who to hire.
Okay. I'll go to Israel. I'll learn some. I'll meet some people in Israel and then start asking around and all. Yeah, it seems like a lot of work.
Just pay her off.
Well, first I have to become Jewish and then get married. to a Jewish
convert
girl.
to Judaism.
Hey, before
strict Hasidic Judaism too, not just like regular, casual Judaism.
Alex, not even your father would have dreamed that was possible. Hey, before we get to Frankie Five Angels, you're forgetting one huge question.
Who is the real
Mike? Why does Mikey either need to go to Hyman Roth to get his permission to kill Frankie Five Angels, or why does he need Roth to think that he needs to go to Roth to get permission to kill Frankie Five Angels?
All right, so
we need to break this down. Break it, shake it, don't fake it. Let's break it down.
All right, what do we got?
So Mikey says, hey, so Frank Pantangelo is a dead man. You don't object? Small potatoes. So let's start with the first one. Why would Mikey need to go to Roth to get his permission?
He doesn't need to. He just wants him to be informed because he doesn't want anything to interfere with their deal.
Why would killing someone in your own family mess up a deal? Like the Rosado brothers would love it if Mikey killed Frank Pantangelo.
Yeah. Maybe
Although
that's why Roth should be more wary now that Mikey's showing up going like, I'm going to do exactly what you want. Is that okay? You know what I mean?
At this point, Mikey doesn't want Roth to know that Mikey knows Roth is connected to the Rosado brothers.
Well, doesn't know that Roth is. I think he knows Roth. I think Roth knows that Mikey knows that Roth is connected to the Rosado brothers.
Does he at this point?
Yeah, because remember in the scene with Frankie Five Angels, he's like, I want you to settle things with the Rosado brothers because of this deal I have with Roth. So that part is not a secret.
So why? I still don't get it. Like, why not just? It seems odd, unless it's a part of his plan to be so transparent with Roth that it really puts Roth's guard down. Like, wow, this young man is coming to me and revealing like inner workings of his family, and he really wants this deal to work, so he's coming to me. He's being honest.
I think there's two parts to it. It's partially that, and I think part of it is also he's saying this to see how Roth reacts. If Roth's like, well, guys, guess you're gonna kill Frankie Five Angels. Oh, I got no problem with that, as opposed to him saying like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. Why would I care? like his response to that, to his bluff, would give Mikey information.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
would Mikey have gotten different information or different interpretation if Roth had said, I don't object, but be aware, Mikey, he's big potatoes.
That's what they call him. He's Frankie Big Potatoes.
Roth is purposely randomly saying all this stuff just to keep Mikey off balance. And what about Hagen? What's he up to these days? Is he looking for work?
Well, what if Roth had said something like, "No, you can't kill Frank. He's a loyal soldier." That seems like more like it would have been more throwing.
Yeah, wow.
Or Mikey off the track to have him be suddenly defending Frankie Five Angels, because then he would be like, why did he say that? You think he would have been happy that it was being defended.
Frankie Five who?
So
Michael, if you kill Frankie Five Angels, I will kill the Rosado brothers.
Dollar for dollar. It's the best deal. Anything else with Hyman Roth?
No, I think that's it. Let's move on to Frankie Five Angels.
Frankie Five Angels.
I'm glad you looked ahead and saw that we're going to get a little bit more Roth in his element in Cuba.
Oh, I think I was like, that is going to be our longest streak of 10 point minutes in a row, because there's so much good stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. So transition to we go from the warm, humid weather of Miami to cold, snowy New York.
Later in New York at the Corleone, I guess it's the Pentangeli compound.
That's right.
Andy, I'm afraid I have some bad news. We're hitting the paywall portion of the podcast.
Oh, we got company?
If you want to hear the rest of it, everyone, go to godfatherminute.com/support. Become a Patreon. It's just basically $1 a week. It's nothing. It's an insult.
So you don't object to people going and then
no.